All right. Great to see a full house here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. We've got a very high power panel coming up next. It's a showdown, a shared security showdown with some big brains. We got Misha from Symbiotic. We got Max from Anza. So yeah, go ahead, guys, take your seats, please. Let's give them a warm welcome.
How's everybody doing after that lecture? You guys want to wake up a little bit? Sreeram, we gotta bring the excitement. We have three founders of three competing protocols up here. Maybe you guys wouldn't want to say that you're competing, but I would say definitely competing. I'll introduce myself first. I'm Max Resnick. I work at Anza. We develop the core Solana client, so we focus on IBRL. But that's not important today because we got Sreeram here, we got Fisher and Misha, and we're going to be talking a little bit about restaking. And I asked one of my friends what kind of questions would be interesting to ask, and he's a pretty smart guy, but he was like, yeah, it's been 2 years, I still don't really know what restaking does. So could one of you guys explain in one sentence what restaking does instead of a whole 30-minute talk? Sreeram?
Oh, yeah. I just gave a talk. I didn't use the word restaking, so I...
Okay, all right, verifiable,
maybe,
whatever.
Yeah, so maybe I can just explain it in one sentence. Is if you want to build a new decentralized application, you can just take your application and upload it to Eigenlayer, and it'll actually find the nodes and stake to go execute this application for you.
Okay, application as a service?
Yeah, so one-liner for Babylon.
Sorry, what?
Yes, so you're looking for a one-liner of Babylon, right?
Yeah, one-liner. What are you guys building?
Yeah, so what Babylon tries to do is to put Bitcoin to work for the rest of the decentralized world in a trustless way. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's DPoS, but with reusing the tokens, and the tokens are not your own. Not only your own. Yeah, it's DPoS, guys. It's simple. If your friend doesn't understand still what restaking is, it's again, we had proof of work, then we decided to optimize it, and you put some money in, and if you misbehave or do something bad, the money is destroyed. But people decided that they don't want to operate nodes at all, so they decided to get delegated to operators. So we got DPoS. That's how every decentralized network works right now. Well, most of them. And then we decided, let's optimize it even further. You can launch without launching your token at all. You can use someone else's token for economic security, and they're going to be destroyed if something bad happens. In time, you can use your own tokens, but you already test interaction. It's just an optimization. Nothing magical about it. It's not like four-way market or verifiable cloud layer. It's just like this. You use multiple tokens or any alignment structure that you want, and you launch faster, and you have a lot of economic security to protect your traction.
So it's basically a way to do slashing with somebody else's token.
Yeah.
Is that the simplest way to, okay.
Yeah.
So why would I want to stake and slash somebody else's token instead of my own? Isn't it good to launch a token?
Yeah. It's those are the interesting questions. Because it's so simple, it's nothing mystical about it. People ask why is it important at all, right? Because before you actually couldn't do that. You needed a strong bridge to your own decentralized network. You needed some way to message between the layers. You needed to make sure that those tokens can actually be slashed, or their actual stake is accurate, right? It's not something that the shit token that can be inflated 100,000 times and you get a lot of economic security, actually not getting anyone. So they needed the frameworks for that. There were a lot of flavors on top of that. The Polkadot tried that. You stake your Polkadot token, and you have relay chain that basically enables you to store information from multiple parachains. We had Cosmos, where they can exchange with each other, and it's super nice with mesh security and cross staking, as they call it before. And then you got restaking, where it was first Ethereum Online, so people wanted to use Ethereum validator straight up the nodes. And then they realized that Ethereum node validators are like calculators. And then we got to like a modern restaking, where the power comes from speed and efficiency. You don't have to like, again, like before we had like Litecoin that was like different from Bitcoin only in that the block time was different. And you needed to create your own like mining pools and everything, like the totality of infrastructure, just to test one idea, and a really small one in that. And now we are getting to a point where you don't have to like build a mode, create a token. And token creation is not easy. Like you need to set up a foundation. You need to do a lot of like really important steps, easy to mess up. And because like every protocol is going through those steps, just imagine multiply it by the number of protocols that launched it like yearly. And you get an enormous optimization that like smaller and a really like simple restaking primitive can bring to the industry.
So what you guys are allowing people to do is basically do all the hard work of launching a crypto protocol without launching a token. But it seems like what founders want to do is launch the token without doing all of the hard work of making an actual protocol. Is that right?
I might just flip the question over. Like, why do people build on Ethereum or Solana, right? Like you think of before Ethereum existed, every application had to build their own blockchain, okay? So before Ethereum existed, every application had to build their own blockchain. You might say, oh, that's a great idea. Like every application should actually go build their own blockchain. And they don't do that today. They just build on top of Ethereum, on Solana, whether it's an L1 directly or L2s or something else. But it's really useful because I don't need to worry about all the extraneous things other than my super specialty. If I'm building a crypto application, I can just go write a smart contract on top of Ethereum or go write it on Solana or some other blockchain. So it's the same reason why people would do that. It's the same reason why people would do and are doing. It's not a hypothetical. We have 50 plus networks running on Eigenlayer today using this principle. The reason is I want to build a useful, viable service. And I was forced, if I wanted to build a useful, viable service, I was forced to launch my own token and start my own network. This is also not a hypothetical. I wanted to do this like 6 years back as a professor. We had new consensus protocols, and I want to go build it. And then, like I'm told, the only thing I can do is to either go get Bitcoin or Ethereum to upgrade to my protocol, or go start an L1. And I'm not really interested in either, or I was not successful in the former and didn't want to do the latter. So I don't know what to do. Today, I could say like I built Eigenlayer for people like myself who have ideas, who want to actually build protocols and services that are useful, but don't want to go through the hassle of the bootstrapping problem for themselves. Some founders, of course, want to launch a token without launching a service. So that's also possible on any of these systems.
Yeah, hustle, it's a minefield. Like it's not a hustle like building your own decentralized network. Like most people don't ever go to get to a point where they actually launch it. They like go through like funding, they go through a lot of other primitives, aligning everyone, like getting operators, getting delegators, getting like talking to a point where it actually like can be used for anything, listing it, and like the journey is like multiple years wide. And like most of it can be eliminated. Like you test your traction on board like hundreds of millions of dollars immediately, and then like after this, like you launch a token.
I think Base is a great example. Think of Base as like building a new chain on top of Ethereum, right? It's not built on restaking, of course, but it's a layer 2. But the principle is similar. They're building a chain which is providing useful, valuable service. For various reasons, they have not launched a token, didn't want to launch a token. But people are coming and using this because they could do this without that bottleneck. But if they wanted, in a layer 2, they have a single node that runs it and then like does some certain things. But if they wanted to build their own consensus protocol without protocols like ours, it's not possible for them to go do that. And so that's what we enable.
Okay, so I guess we're kind of touching on something here, which is all of these are network effects games. These are multi-sided marketplaces. I think, Sreeram, you said this is a 4-sided marketplace. Is that true?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what the 4 sides are? And then maybe each of you could grade how well you guys are doing at solving the cold start problem, because usually we have like two-sided marketplace is really hard to solve the cold start problem. Here you have 4 sides, or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a pentagram, maybe it's 5 sides. But what's going on with the cold start problem? How are you guys attacking that in this setting?
Yeah. Initially, our conception was it's a 3-sided marketplace, right? So this is, our particular thesis. I think different, projects have different theses on how to do this. When you think about staking, normally people think of staking for running a chain, right? And so if that's the case, then you have the stakers, people who bring in the stake. You have operators who run the nodes, and they are kind of related, but somewhat distinct sides. And then the third side is people building chains, right? So you have the chains, stakers, operators. Our thesis was slightly different. From day one, our thesis has been we're building towards this kind of decentralized verifiable cloud. And so we always thought of the atomic unit of action is not a chain, it's a service, right? You think of the cloud, you see like SaaS is like the biggest layer in the cloud, software as a service, right? You build a software which is specifically tuned to solving one narrow problem. And then these SaaS services live on the cloud, and as an application builder, you can mix and match them. In fact, like the first white paper I wrote for, or like the kind of like 2-page paper before we even came up with the idea of restaking, was called Eigenlayer, Unleashing the SaaS Era of Crypto. So this idea of like we want to bring this service as the core unit of paradigm. So that's the third side of our market: stakers, operators, services, right? And services, we call them AVS, autonomous verifiable service. Autonomous because any staker can keep running that service. You're not dependent on any one person. Verifiable because if you don't run the service correctly, you're kept to account through this system of staking and slashing. So that's the third side. So this was our original conception. You have stakers, operators, AVSs. And so we built the marketplace around it. In some sense, it would have been simpler if we had actually focused on just chains and said, we'll let people build chains. But our vision was always to enable this cloud-type system. And then we realized, actually, it's not just stakers, operators, AVSs. Somebody needs to consume these AVSs. Somebody needs to use these services. That's when the marketplace gets complete. So we think about the fourth side, which is AVS consumers or apps, right? Somebody who needs to use these services. If AVSs are infrastructure-grade services, then storage, inference, authentication, proof of location, all these kinds of things, then you need like applications to come in. So that's the fourth side. How hard is it to bootstrap? It is an insane task to go say like I'm bootstrapping a 4-sided marketplace, but we feel somewhat confident because we have bootstrapped 3 sides somewhat, right? So we have stakers, we have operators, we have 100+ AVSs built in various stages. So we feel comfortable going to the 4th side.
And then the last perennial problem of crypto is where are the users, right?
That's the 5th side we're not addressing ourselves. The hope is applications will onboard the users, so you just push the problem one side up.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have all been pretty successful at getting a bunch of stake, right? Fisher, you want to talk about how your strategy has differed from Sreeram's in terms of getting stake?
Yeah, sure. So Sreeram mentioned that for the ETH stakers, the restaking targets the applications and services. But for Bitcoin holders, they don't have this luxury. Like Bitcoin is falling behind compared to ETH because ETH staker can already provide staking to the ETH network already. But Bitcoin holders, they don't have anything to stake for before Babylon introduced Bitcoin staking. So Babylon's Bitcoin staking's addressable market for now is at the network level, which means Bitcoin staking is used to secure blockchains. So Babylon Genesis chain itself and all the other like blockchains, rollups, other infrastructures. So yeah, so the 2-sided market of the Babylon Bitcoin staking is like Bitcoin holders with their Bitcoin, and then Babylon Genesis, and then other Bitcoin secured networks. So this will allow the value and users captured by Bitcoin through its mainstream adoption to be channeled to other blockchain networks. So other blockchain networks can have Bitcoin security, Bitcoin liquidity, and also very importantly, Bitcoin users. Bitcoin users are quite different from all other blockchain users. So by combining these Bitcoin and altcoin universe, we can create a more united crypto world towards mainstream adoption and bringing through Bitcoin like as a gateway, like the Web2 users, traditional users can all come and explore the entire crypto world. Yeah. Thank you.
How about you, Misha? Have you guys decided, like, is there anything about your approach to solving this cold start problem that's different than these other two?
Not trying to be spicy, but like the easier explanation is that if like none of us like just imagine like this classification. If you had like Symbiotic right now, you could have easily built like Babylon and Eigenlayer, both, and it's going to be like much easier for the teams to build their systems. If you had like any of their systems, it would be impossible to build Symbiotic still. We are aiming to be like the angle that we are trying to get here is that like we try to build the most customizable system, like with the highest target audience in case of networks. So like be it like a network that like say the last one, right? Like for we received like one stablecoin idea that reallocates funds when slashed. So they're not destroyed, but they're like they're moved to a different participant in a really particular manner. And like Symbiotic is the only like actual production system that can do that because we have a really customizable burners. And like the cases are like we receive a lot of cases where we are the only system that can actually accommodate that. For now, like I think like people, like 100% sure that like you're gonna join soon, but yeah, like our approach is to like dictate as little as possible. No like solutions that are like hard locked to some mode of functioning. Any configuration between those 4 or like 5 or 6 sites, like, depends on the configuration, is possible. We just here to enforce them. Once they're reached, once like every party decided that like that's how systems is supposed to work, we are enforcing them if they can be enforced at all, right? Like in case of like custody or like centralized part of the system, we can't. But like our job is to enforce the parts that are under our control.
All right, that's the interesting perspective. So you guys would say you're a more general version of the other two systems.
Yeah.
Do you guys agree with that characterization of Symbiotic?
I completely disagree. So let me just take Babylon's side on this thing. You know, said that you can actually build Babylon or Eigenlayer on top. It's simply not possible to build Babylon on top because the hardest thing in Babylon is actually to build slashing. And so Bitcoin doesn't have a slashing script. And so they had to actually work a lot on this like cryptography to actually enable this thing. So that shows how deeply, you know, you have to go into Bitcoin to actually make this work. It's the same thing with us. When you think about Eigenlayer, the way we think about it is as this enabling core services to enable applications. It's a very different view than building a custom vault that anybody can use to do whatever they want. So I think there's like fundamental differences in the architecture, so I agree with that, but it's not the same as saying one system's more general purpose, therefore you can do anything on top. You can just put a vault and say like, I can build anything on top. But a system that's intentional towards a certain direction, so our view is that we are building towards this expressive crypto apps which can mix and match services. The way you need to think about the system is very different, and the constraints that it places on the system is very different, as opposed to a view of I'm taking Bitcoin and supplying it to different chains, as opposed to I'm building a universal system that is highly configurable to build things on top. So these all lead to different trade-offs, I think.
Yeah, can we talk about this?
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Misha.
That's why I said like not about spicy, right? Babylon solved like a really, really complex and beautifully solved a really complex problem of like how do you even stake Bitcoin, right? And like Sreeram created like DA and a lot of services that complement the entire system, like beyond restaking. And like goal of shared security and like restaking as a like smaller primitive is not to like create a business logic for you, right? Like, so system coming on board, the juice of the matter, right? Their like actual idea in PMF, it's not going to be done by us like there in any way. It's just going to be utilized. That's the important distinction, right? So that's what like we are making it easier to build, right? Like when I meant that like Symbiotic can be used to build Eigenlayer and Babylon, the juiciest parts are like still going to be built by the teams. Yeah.
Can we just talk about this cryptographic primitive that we're alluding to here? So the way I understand it, in ETH, you have a smart contract. The smart contract can verify that somebody, say, double-signed block, and then immediately slash based on that. But Bitcoin is much more limited, so they don't have smart contracts. And the way I understand it is if you do something like a double sign, it will like reveal your private key. Is that correct?
Yes. So yeah, for staking to be meaningful, as Sreeram and Misha mentioned, it should be slashable. So what Babylon solved is to make Bitcoin slashable in a cryptographic and trustless way, not bridge Bitcoin to somewhere else first and then do smart slashing. Yeah. So the cryptographic primitive we use is something called Snore signature, which is native to Bitcoin. Snore signature has a property that if you as the signer equivocate, then your private key could be cryptographically decrypted. This equivocation is the classic double spending attack to any blockchain. So this is the cryptographic primitive that enables Babylon Bitcoin staking to become a meaningful true staking with slashing. And this is also the reason why I don't think the core, at least the core of Babylon, can be built using Symbiotic, because Bitcoin is not breached first. So there's no smart contract that can be used to make Bitcoin slashable.
I have a question for you two. So Sreeram, you're very close with David Say, who's the co-founder of Babylon. And am I right in saying that he's your advisor's advisor, or is that not correct?
Okay, so David Shea, who's professor at Stanford, was my postdoctoral advisor. He was also my PhD advisor's advisor. My PhD advisor is Pramod, who was founder of Sentient and other protocols. David, Pramod, and I had a startup 5 years back called Trifecta, which was after I was mentioning that we were trying to build, we had these new consensus protocols, all this stuff, and we were like, okay, if Ethereum or Bitcoin's not going to take this stuff, let's go build Trifecta. Fisher was also part of Trifecta, so it's a old, I say Trifecta is the most successful failed startup. It's given rise to Babylon, given rise to Eigenlayer, given rise to Sentient, and some other projects as well. Chain Opera. Mega Eats founder Lei Yang was the person who wrote Trifecta. So there's like this old information theory cabal.
Oh, okay. So you guys are infiltrating the crypto space right now. So I guess my question was like, how do you feel competing against this group? Do you feel like you're competitors or no?
No. Not competing with Babylon or anything. In some sense, I think the stage we are in crypto, I think we all have to realize it's very, very early, right? So we don't have a lot of applications. We don't have lots of usage. Opening up Bitcoin, which has now become a big force in the common public perception, and being able to actually deliver value there is a huge thing. So I don't feel competitive in general with anybody, because I think the space is still very, very early, very non-zero sum.
Plenty of pie for everybody to have a slice. Okay. Very diplomatic of you. So I guess one question I had is, we have these multi-sided marketplaces. Historically, you think of Uber and Lyft or Facebook or a lot of these network effects businesses. There aren't too many who stand the test of time and are able to produce a lasting business that works. And there's kind of a center of gravity that sucks all the users on both sides of the marketplace, or all 5 sides of the marketplace in this case, into one gravitational sink, right? And I wonder if you think that will happen here, And if so, who are you most scared of in terms of the people on this stage? There's Gino, there's other people building, shared security, restaking, verifiable finance, whatever. Who are you most scared of being the Uber to your Lyft in that sense?
Yeah, my perspective on this, I would quote Amazon here. One of Amazon's view is customer obsession, not competitor obsession. Customer obsession is you think about like what value you're delivering to your customer. In our case, I think the biggest failure mode is we failed to get useful apps built. That's it. That's my defining failure mode. It's not that, we get 300 apps built and like Misha gets 10,000 apps built. I would still be happy about it. I think the failure mode is none of us figure out how to get apps built. And to do this, I think because we are so early, there is the failure mode again is how do we, if we failed in inspiring, encouraging new builders to come in and build these things, I think we fail. That's, I would say, my dominant failure mode and the thing that I worry about the most.
You guys agree?
Beyond like articles that want to do clickbait, like rival and everything like that. Again, like I agree with Sreeram, like 100%. Nothing is sadder than zombie protocol that failed to reach PMF, right? And it's not sad because like, you're a big founder and then you're like some shadow of yourself. No, it's because like you haven't helped people. You spend like years and years of your life, and it's not an easy life, right? Like we fly around the world, we develop stuff, we like got hacked, and like it's a stressful life, and like you spend in arguably the best years of your life doing something that you want for people to appreciate, right? So no, like we are not scared about like any of the competition. Like Jito, I think, moved out to restaking entirely. Like they're doing like more profitable stuff. Like a lot of protocols are moving in the different directions. So like the first of us to actually like reach wide adoption would be amazing for everyone else, because we would know like which primitive works. We have like different flavors here in the panel, right? Like of how to approach stuff, how to be successful in being useful to people, to builders. The first one to reach will like be a North Star for everyone to follow. So like competition angle is not actually like real in any sense, but like maybe funding is like, they like to play that game. Everything else is, we're just building. Like the restaking is an easy primitive. What comes after is quite complex. You'll need cryptography that's like never been done before. You need bridging mechanisms that they're not there yet. And like, the coordination, signature aggregations, and like so much more. And system actually becomes like from like 2,000 lines of code that we started with and thought like, that's amazing, to like tens of thousands of lines of code quite quickly.
So if I understand what you're saying, Misha, you're saying basically the tech was the easy part and the kind of community building efforts are the hard part, or maybe there's like more than just the restaking primitive. Maybe there's tech that comes after that that's also pretty hard, but kind of the first step, which is what everybody got super excited about, was restaking and these slashing mechanisms. And now we're kind of in the really hard part after that, which is building up the network effect.
No, it's like alignment game. Like you try to, like we did like thousands upon thousands, I think, customer interviews with networks of all sorts. And like, it's always like alignment. You get something that's workable, and like nobody's actually telling you stuff, because like it's so close to what they have as an IP, like, and they're early, because if they're late, they already launched and you're not as interesting. But if they're early, they're like really hesitant in telling you stuff. And you need to like always align. And then you show them like the product that you like mind read and like created. And they're like, oh yeah, like we will use that, like do that, but like with this twist. And then you align some more and realign some more and create like some like systems try to figure out where they're going. Like, okay, is this example like useful for like one bridge? Or like, is it gonna be like useful for every decentralized bridge? Or like, is this example is only used by Optimism, which is kind of okay because they're huge. But like, but will it be like, will it be workable for Arbitrum as well? Because like they have like actually like different mechanisms. And that's the hard part that we need to figure out how to create like a wider primitives and wider useful SDKs and frameworks for like the industry to actually like grab on and like utilize.
Okay, we have 30 seconds left, so maybe 10 seconds for each of you. What is the single biggest unsolved problem in restaking that if you solve it, the probability of this whole endeavor being successful goes way up?
For us, I would say it's service composition. So how can an app come in and use 5 different services in some combination easily?
So for Babylon, 2 things. One is to extract the best value of Bitcoin and give it to the Bitcoin secured networks. And second is to respect the cryptography and build things steadily to make sure it doesn't go wrong.
Like safe mass adoption. That's like can
awesome.
Get mass adoption like with one operator and like 0 consensus. We can get mass adoption right now. Like safe mass adoption.
Oh yeah, we're back to the getting the user's problem. Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for coming up and taking my questions in stride. Now let's give a round of applause to these 5 gentlemen.